how good it is to come together once again with beings of like heart, mind, spirit, and nature, to recognize, to know again that there's one life, one mind, one power, one presence, one eternal giving nature that lives and breathes and has its being in and through and as all of creation. It lives and breathes and has its being in and through and as me and as the San Francisco Center for Spiritual Living and all truth centers and all truth seekers everywhere. How good it is to know that right where I am and right where we are, and just as we are, all is well. This service is already complete in mind. Each of us, whether present here or live streaming or somewhere else in heart and mind, we know that right where we are and all beings are everywhere, we're open and receptive to the highest and the best good of all life kind. And that we ourselves are focal points for that highest and best good. And that we allow ourselves to, as Emerson says, get our bloating nothingness out of the way of the divine circuit, and we complete ourselves in spirit, recognizing spirit as spirit, and all we think and all we say and all we do. And so it is. Indeed, wait a second. Right now we'd be singing a song, isn't that right? Yeah. What you got for us, Molly? What should we sing? I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, wait. Now, see, I get it. Some of you did and some of you didn't. So if you didn't wake up with your mind stayed on spirit, it's because you didn't go to bed with your mind on spirit. And see, that's how that works. You go to bed with your mind on spirit, you wake up with your mind on spirit. It's easy. But if that's not your experience for the day, then this next verse is for you. All day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. Yes, and all day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. And all day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Yeah, I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. One more time from the top. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Right. Thank you. You brought the rhythm. You brought the music. All right. Thank you. Could somebody make sure I'm in the frame right there? I'm in the frame. Good. That is excellent. I think if I didn't do that, it's too bad. Well, I guess we'll find out. I'm supposed, and I want to make sure, though, because I understand the recording for last week was not. And so, you know how much fun we had last week? We had a bunch of fun. I mean, we were the only ones having that fun. And that's okay, because sometimes you have to be present to win, but we're moving along. We're moving ahead because we're open and receptive to the right and proper circumstance to reveal the perfection of our service. So today is the 10th. That's what I thought. And today's reading from Mark Nepo, Book of Awakening, subtitle, Having the Life You Want by Being Present to the Life You Have. That's a reading right there, right on the cover of the book. If you didn't know you wanted this book, this is about having the life you want by being present to the life you have. Now, that's a whole talk right there. If I was at a Baptist church, we'd be having fun with that right now. I say, Yeah, we'd be say, that's right. To the life I got right now. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of execute. We need to keep it up there because we don't have a musician, but the music's in our hearts. That's right. You cannot, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Once you had a taste of the Holy Ghost got a hold on you. And it don't never let you go. Well, I can do all this other stuff I'm doing. But what did Martin Luther King say? I have been to the mountaintop and I have seen the glory. This is called the Ring of Safety, interestingly enough, on July the 10th. You know what? I'm going to take a page out of last week because Eric suggested I do Saturday and Sunday. And I remembered Eric's name. Because the times they are a-changing. You sit down there. Oh, boy. So, because Saturday is short, and it's right there. It's just staring me in the face. And it's like, okay, I'll read it. And said July 9th says, the surface and the deep. When under, remember the surface. When on the surface, remember the deep. When our days are turbulent and troubled, our challenge is to remember that the wave is not the sea. Though it pounds us, the pounding will pass. Though it tosses us about, the tossing will pass if we don't fight it. Often, our fear misleads us to stay in close to the shore, when the safest place is in the deep, if we can get there. Any swimmer knows, stay too close to the shore and you will be battered by the surf and undertow. Obviously, I'm not a swimmer. I didn't know that. We must swim out past the breakers if we are to know the hammock of the deep. Stay on land or make it to the deep. It is the in-between that kills. We could just be reading from this. We just could just be reading after reading. It's just that good. All right. Ring of Safety, July 10th. Who sees all beings in his own self and his own self in all beings loses all fear. I was sitting on a beach in the sun waiting for Robert when a yellow jacket landed about 4 feet to my left. I watched its striped anterior pulse and protract, the sun making its black rings blacker and its yellow rings almost orange. It made me think of my mother and how if that yellow jacket were within yards of her, she would have rolled up the nearest magazine and with trepidation tried until she swatted. Her fear of being stung made her kill many a small thing. She couldn't tolerate the uncertainty that something living might hurt her. And in her deep fear of being hurt, she walled herself in, swatting everything away. Almost 40 years later, I realized that we all suffer from the uncertainty of being hurt by the life that surrounds us, and we all have a changing ring of safety beyond which we are likely to hurt other living things in the guise of self-defense. I'm gonna read that again. I give it its just due. Almost 40 years later, I realized that we all suffer from the uncertainty of being hurt by the life that surrounds us. And we all have a changing ring of safety beyond which we are likely to hurt other living things in the guise of self-defense. I sat on the beach and the yellow jacket flitted closer. Excuse me. I sat on the bench and the yellow jacket flitted closer. But having almost died from cancer, feeling blessed to be here at all, I let the little insect come much closer than I used to. With a softer and more truthful eye, I could see that it had little interest in me. And I am ashamed to admit just how many times I have harmed others because, like my mother, I couldn't tolerate the unpredictable nature of their advance. How often we imagine things are dangerous when they're only doing what comes naturally. The yellow jacket came closer still. When it was almost on my arm, there was time enough to gently shoo it away. It flirted with me for quite some time, coming close till I would shoo it on, buzzing at a distance, and then coming close again. This is so much like the dance we do with strangers and loved ones alike. How often we murder parts of ourselves by not letting things advance or come close. How often we let fear and the SWAT rule our emotional lives. How often we kill or chase away everything that moves. I think Francis of Assisi, who held so still the birds landed on his branch-like arms. Okay, I'm reading that wrong. I think of Francis of Assisi, who held so still the birds landed on his branch-like arms. And we wonder why we are so lonely when we won't let anything full of life come near. If we could only see the bee or the bird or our enemy as a brief living center like ourselves, we could then let them go their way without pulling us into opposition. Okay. I don't know about you, but I've been chastised. Okay. Right now we'd have another song. I've been thinking about this piece. It's a chant. I think you can do it. I think we can do it. All you have to do is repeat the part that I said to some. It's Ricky Byers, Let Me Live in a Holy, Holy Way.
All right.
Oh, you know this?
I put an order in for it this morning.
Did you? So he's always doing stuff like this. I can't. You know, I'm telling you, because it started last night. Angela will tell you, I started singing this song last night or this morning? Okay. She said, yeah, what, prime free, what'd you say? Prime free, same day delivery? Okay, you see, man. So it goes, oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. You go, let me live in a holy, holy way. And then there's one that's tricky. He says, let me know that love is all around. Let me know. But since you know it, you can help carry the other piece, and we are prepared for you today. And there's no escape. There's no escape. We're all in this together, and you just had to let us know that you ordered the song, so clearly it's in you. Clearly. So you can help help me too. So we're all doing this together. So Ricky, we love you. This is a tribute to you and your music and how great it is. So, oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live, holy, holy way. Oh, let me know that love is all around. Let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me know that love is all around. Let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me know, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me know that love is all around. Let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me know that love is all around. Let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live
In a holy, holy way. She told me I'm doing it wrong. Anyway, that's it. That's it. That's all I got. Yay, all right. That's what happened at the center today. Ricky goes, hey, man, don't be butchering my music. No, there probably will be. And the thing about it is because we need to work it out so that we can have Ricky's music here, period. And Jamie Lula too, period. Because they're two of my favorites. And I love Mark Namaud's. He's got one I just love. It's kind of got a rock and roll beat. It goes, I can't help it. God makes me want to sing. You know, and then I throw little Richard, yeah, really doing the girl can't help it. So can't help it. I just can't help it. I threw that in myself. That's not in the song. But, you know, there's a lot of, yeah, remix. That's right. The Rasuli remix. So it's all good, man. So good morning.
Good morning.
And, oh boy, so many things are happening today. And one of those things is that I am no longer on camera and still speaking because that which I desire is right here and here. All right. See, this is part of the ventriloquism act. I'm throwing my voice. Okay, so today we're talking about my favorite subject. I talk about it every time. I talk about it all the time. It's not always couched as this, but it's always this. We're talking about relationships. And we're talking about relationships because that's what the theme of the month is, talking about relationships. And I think it goes on, it says, let me make sure I have it right. I like the way they put this, so I want to make sure I read it properly. Or maybe I'm not going to read it properly. This has been, oh, here we go. It is, you and I are we. You and I are we. So before the you and I are we really launches itself, what is it that we say each week, boys and girls? Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful and committed individuals can make a difference in the world. Indeed, that's all that ever has. We say that every week, Eric. And Patrick, it was coming. It wasn't coming. Oh, man. And that's because one thing I want us to always know every day, 24/7, not just here, not just listening to me. I want you to wake up every morning. It's something that is happening every day. You wake up every day anyway. And you wake up every day a difference maker. We don't always realize that we're a difference maker, but that's who you are. And getting out of bed is going to make a difference in your life and the life of everybody you touch. And just like staying in bed will do the same thing. Some people be glad they didn't see you, and some people will miss you. That's the way that works, because you're always interacting. It's the truth. Am I making that up? Maybe some people here don't have anybody that's glad they don't see them. I don't think I can boast that. Share that to me like, glad I don't have to deal with him anymore. And so, but what it's about is just knowing that you cannot help but be a difference maker, because that thing that is the difference maker, consciousness, God, the absolute infinite intelligence, the universe, guy, however you want to approach it, is making all the difference. Is making all the difference. And so if I'm one with all of the difference, I have no choice. As Brother Ishmael says, it cannot be otherwise. I am de facto a difference maker. Now the question is, am I a conscious difference maker or am I an unconscious difference maker? And we vacillate back and forth. Sometimes we're consciously making a difference. Oftentimes we're unconsciously making a difference. I remember watching my parents, and they didn't realize the differences they were making all the time. I try to remember this when I'm dealing with my own children, but of course, sometimes I don't, I'm sure. But it's like I'm watching them and I'm looking at them like, you know, they taught me so many things. Some of the things they taught me by the things they did well, but I learned a lot by the stuff they didn't do well. You know, I see people nodding their heads like, you see your parents screwing up and you're like, Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work. They're doing it again. It's still not working. And so after a while, you realize these are things that I don't need to do. Why don't I need to do them? Because I've already seen them not work for other people. One of my friends I knew, Eric Mitchell, he was one of these wonderful people who made the right moves in his life. Okay. He advanced every step of the way. He kept doing everything right. And I was like, I'm looking at him like, dude, how are you doing this? You know? How does a person, he gave me a secret that made perfect sense. He said, well, I actually learned very early in life to learn from others' mistakes so I didn't have to make them myself. I said, well, that explains why I'm in the condition I'm in today. Because I wanted to make all my own mistakes so I'd know for sure. And so that was the difference between Eric and I. He took the elevator and I went up the backside of the mountain. Some of us like the backside of the mountain. As any other people in here like the backside of the mountain, I want to do it my own way, make my own mistakes. That way I'll get it grounded into me. Yeah, I can tell you something about the backside of the mountain, people. It's not lonely back there. You know, I was thinking, I'm going to be the one on the back. No, you're not the one on the backside of the mountain. It's crawling with people. There's a whole bunch of us back there having to figure it out ourselves, not willing to listen to what happened before. Now, I'm sure each of us who had our hands up, we've listened to what's happened before. But there's this thing that wants to know. You see, when you want to know, then you have to do. Some people don't need to know like the people who need it through doing. There's that tactile learning. Some people you can hear it, you can see it. Other people have to get their hands dirty to know. Are you feeling me? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I needed a visceral, palpable experience of consciousness. I needed a burning bush experience. You know, I remember asking the question, how come Moses got to be Moses? How come I didn't get to be Moses? I mean, that was pretty dang cool watching the burning bush like that. And, you know, we got to be careful when you say stuff like that, because the divine's like, the universe is like, oh, you need a burning bush? You know, he had been through some stuff by the time he saw that burning bush. Now, if you want to see a burning bush, let me take you through some stuff. See, I didn't. It's like in the Dr. Strange movie, the lessons come in, what's that? The warnings come after the spell. You know, experience, you get the lesson, or you get the lesson after the test. That's why experience is not a good teacher, because you get the lesson after you take the test instead of before. Okay. Moving right along. So I'm going to talk about the Good Samaritan today. The Good Samaritan is a story of the master teacher Jesus is relating the kingdom of heaven to a group. And one of the people there, he's kind of doing some work in consciousness, unconsciously, but he's in and out. He's quibbling over the details. And so he asked Jesus, he says, that what is the fastest way to get into the kingdom? And he says that you should, he asked him what the law of the prophet says. What does the prophet say? What's already been prophesied? What's already there? You don't have to make up anything new. What does the law say? Tell me what the law says. And he goes to the law, says we should love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, and love the neighbor as yourself. He said, well, there you go. That's it. That's what you have to do. And so he says, yeah, that sounds good. But who is my neighbor? I mean, that's the sticking point here, isn't it? Who's my neighbor? And he tells this story about a man who was on his way down the street, and he can see a man has been beaten and robbed and left for dead on the side of the road. Now, the way the story goes, a Levite and a priest had already come by. These were the high holy ones, if you will. They had seen the same man that he sees and conveniently crossed the other side of the street so they wouldn't have to be bothered. But the Samaritan, when he saw, he bound his wounds, fixed him up the best he could, took him to the local inn, gave the innkeeper some money, said, let this take care of this man until my return. If there's anything more, I'll take care of it when I get here. The innkeeper said, fine. And he goes on his merry way. And then when he tells the story, he asked the same guy, he says, so who is that man's neighbor? And the man replied, well, the one who showed him mercy, of course. And Jesus, the master teacher, says, go forth and do likewise. Go forth and do likewise. Mercy is an act of love. In the Quran, the Holy Quran, it says mercy comes before judgment. And that's beautiful, because if mercy comes before judgment, that means before I can judge anything, and every time I choose to judge anything, first I have to do mercy. And see, if you do mercy first, you don't get to the judgment, because you're in mercy. You understand how that works? First you love, and if you feel like after you get through loving, if you have anything left of your resentment and all that, then you can apply it. But see, love has taken a great deal of the sting of that away, because love brings us back into the unity of the whole. Yes? It brings us back into the unity of the whole, because God is love. Love is a synonym for God. And so when we are loving, we are also giving of ourselves, because love is the act of giving of ourselves. Dr. Holmes says, love is the self-givingness of the spirit to its creation. You know when you love someone because you want to do stuff for them. Isn't that right? You guys just can't help it, just doing stuff for each other all the time. You know, currently we just do stuff for each other. I might have attitude, but I'm gonna do stuff for her. Okay, I'm gonna do that stuff because I want to do that stuff. The way wanting to do stuff outweighs my attitude in the moment. That's just the way it works. So we're talking about who our neighbor is. Well, actually, anyone can be our neighbor, because everyone is our neighbor, because we're in one neighborhood called the planet Earth. We're all members of this community, this neighborhood, if you will. And with the advent of the internet right now, we can tell what's happening around the globe instantly. We actually have a central nervous system that's attached to the planet right now, where we can know the hurt, the pain, the ache, the joy, the exhilaration, wherever it is on the planet, it's getting beamed to us. And depending on how we set our search parameters, we get what we're searching for. If you keep getting all this gloom and doom in your mailbox, you're looking for it, because this program is set up just like the law. It's reciprocity. It's done unto you as you believe. And if you are looking for stuff to be wrong, you're going to find stuff to be wrong. If you're looking for stuff to be good, you're going to find stuff to be good. But what Nepo said, when you're on the surface, beware the deep. When you're in the deep, beware the surface, because we are all of this and more. So it's important to, what's that term? It's not equanimity, but that's the closest I can get to it right now, because equanimity is like just being even, tempered and balanced out. But I want to say there's a word I'm looking for that's inclusive of the seeming opposites, and embracing them and incorporating and including them into who and what you are in this moment. Whatever that thing is, that is who we are and what we are every moment of our lives, and our lives are forever continuing, forever unfolding, because we know that the soul is eternal, and eternity does not begin after we die. This is a critical thing to remember, because we can get the immortal soul, the eternality of the spirit, but I don't have to worry about that right now. But when I'm dead, it's a good thing to know. But it's a good thing to know when you're alive, because what it means is you've never been born. And if you've never been born, that means you have no beginning and you have no end. You are literally the Alpha and the Omega in this particular moment of the right here and the right now, which is the only moment of power that exists, is the moment of the right here and the right now. And it's what we choose to do in this moment that's making the difference in our lives. Thank you very much. It's what we choose to do in the moment, what we bring in the moment. You know, it's hard to prepare for war and peace at the same time. It's hard to talk about being prosperous and be ungrateful at the same time. Not that it's hard to do, but that they work against one another and we don't get the result we want. And we don't get the result we want because our conversation is betraying our consciousness. I don't like to say that because it's a term I came with early in my studies and I got reprimanded. Why you say it betrays? Why can't you just say it reveals? Why you say betrays? And so wanting to appear erudite and astute and highly evolved, I quit saying betrayed. But I'm realizing in this moment that betray sometimes is the right word. Because when we're in spiritual circles, we know the speech, we know the dance, we know that we're like, you know, when the honeybee goes back to the hive, they do this little dance, this little wiggle dance. If you have, you need to see this if you haven't seen the videos on this, but I think everybody's seen them by now. And it lets the other bees know where the flowers, where the nectar is, just by the dance they're doing. Well, your consciousness has a certain rhythm to it. And it shows up in our body, it shows up in our language, it shows up in our relationship. Why? Because we're always having the same relationship over and over again. And everybody in your life you're in a relationship is a representation of the relationship that you're in with God. That's what it is. And we keep looking for the divine. Everywhere we look for the divine, and when we think we find it, we go, ah. And so we find people who we feel we can trust more than everybody else. Ah. And we look at each other and we say, you make me feel, God bless you. You make me feel brand new. No, no, no. Nobody's making you feel anything. You're allowing yourself to have the feeling because this person, this puppy, this kitten, this house, this view allows you to let go of the parameters of the self that you've created, which is a limitation of the self that you truly are. And when you take down the walls of that invented self, that imagined self, that self that's based in duality, that self that says somebody has to win and somebody has to lose, that self that says, if I don't dominate, I'm going to be the victim. That self who looks for victims and villains, the same self that looks for heroes and sheroes, the self that thinks there's a high and a low and that they're opposed to each other. We're growing beyond that now. There is a place called unity from which we've all sprung, from which we live and move and have our being, as Dr. Holmes says. And in the unity, all things are not equal. Let's just get that out of the way. Things are not equal. Nature is not an equal opportunity employer. I say it every week, the big fishes eat the little fishes. That's just the way it works. If you're a meat eater, what are you trying to say? Your life is more important than a cow? I'm sure the cow doesn't think so. Okay? Your life is more important than whatever it is you eat? Someone say you are what you eat, so maybe you're a cow. Scriptures say that a man's enemies are of his own household. Same with your neighbor, but the enemies we're talking about are those thoughts that creep in and usurp our power. The ones of lack and limitation and fear and dread, the ones of the other. Can you all say to me, there's no other? Can you say it again? What does that mean to say there's no other? Who feels that? There's no other. Anybody? Go ahead. You know, I miss you, man. I miss you bad, brother. I mean, it's like I was trying to have an attitude, but I just couldn't. I ain't gonna lie, you know, that other guy we're talking about, you know, he was creeping in like, dude, did you just get ghosted? No, stop talking. Stop. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. I just want you to know you missed. We love you. God bless you. And I've talked myself down off the cliff. Yes, what do you say? He said, I'm not saying nothing now. Oh, man. You got some? I thought your hand came up. It's a life work. It's a life work because we keep thinking that he says he's been working on this idea of no other. There's no over there. There's no them. There's no they. I'm not trying to get in trouble with the PC police, but pronouns are getting in the way, even the ones we always use, because we keep making further and further distinction, further and further divide. And get me, people, I don't think it's bad that we make those distinctions, but we keep forgetting that we're part of a unity. It's important to know what part of the unity that you are so that you can take care of yourself. I was having a conversation on the way in, you know. We had Carter G. Woodson had the Negro History Week because the Negro had very little information about his own history. That was his reasoning. And it was Negro History Week. He came to Negro History Month, and it was Black History Month. It's evolved now to multicultural history. And that's fine because everybody's celebrating at the same time, but you need to know what part of the culture you'll bring into the multi. Because it's so easy to feel bad about yourself because you have no laurels to rest on. You have no place in unity that feels good. A good friend of mine, he's Italian. I met him at one of our conferences. Nice guy, beautiful man. And he's upset because he's Italian and he's talking about all the bad things Italians have done in the world. I'm not even believing this. I'm not even believing this conversation. I'm looking at him like, is this guy messing with me? You know, is there a camera? Is this really happening? No, I can feel his heart. He's distraught. This guy's doing good works in the world. He's doing good. He's bringing books to people, shipping them all over the planet. You send him books, he'll send them to everybody. He's doing great work on the planet, but his own identity of himself is keeping him from enjoying the fruits of that labor. Are you feeling what I'm saying right here? It's not so much what you're doing. I'm not saying don't do anything, but it's not so much what you're doing, it's who is doing it. With what measure do you met? What is the consciousness you're using when you do this thing? I was able to remind him, excuse me, Italians have done some pretty incredible things. Just off the top of my head, I'm like, you know, y'all did some stuff, man. He's like, I guess you got a point. Yeah, man. I couldn't remember the stuff I told him right now. That was 40 years ago. But at that time I had boom, boom, boom. I had like 5 things I could come up with Italians had done that had made a difference in the world. And he walked away feeling better. Know your history, especially the good part. And you know what? If you don't have a history, you get to make up your own. I told you a little while ago, my sister, God bless my sister. She went on Ancestry, not Ancestry, African-American Ancestry.com. Now these people use like 2% of your DNA. But she gets a positive hit back that says 97% confirmation that you people, you come from the Blvd tribe. Now, her mind, she heard she was 97% Blvd. And she's going around telling everybody that, and she's letting the whole thing, oh, we're 97% Blvd. We're this, we're that. She's looking up, she got me looking, Blvd, really? I'm looking, and it's like, wait a second, that's 2%, that's 98%, something else. They only use 2%, but she's made up her own thing. She's strutting around, she's more proud. She's learning the language. She wants to go back there and visit. Now she has something she can identify with from her past that she can build on and feel better about who she is. So it's important to have those roots and know those things, even if you're making them up. Because your mind doesn't care if you're making them up or not. It just wants to feel good about something. It wants to feel connected in some way. And this helps her connect. And quite frankly, this is why we have such a rise in racism right now. Because white folks need something to connect to. There's nobody, I mean, we can't just dismiss somebody else's story because we don't like it or it doesn't help our cause. But the bottom line is, where's my NAACP if you're a white person? Say, well, everything's set up for you. Well, it doesn't feel that way because everything's not set up for white people. It's set up for people in power. And a lot of those people are white, but most of them are rich, whether they're white or not. And that means you have power. I want you to be on surface and deep here, people. Surface and deep. Just stay with me on the deep here. Because right where we are and just as we are, there is a pull, there is a lure, there is a siren call to separate, to divide, to make the enemy, to make the other. It's those people over there. It's those bad people. And if only the bad people would stop doing what they're doing, and I'm going to be here to make sure the bad people stop doing what they're doing. But if we are approaching this from a place of separation, if we're doing this from a place of fear or rage or pain, then that means we're contributing to the fear and the rage and the pain in the consciousness of humanity. And it's that idea that's spawning the experience that we seem to be fighting. And if we want to actually make a difference, because we are difference makers, it's not enough to just go out and vote. It's not enough to go out and protest. It's not enough to go out there and affect. It's not enough to go blow stuff up if that's what you need to do. It's not enough to do any of those things. It depends on who is doing this. Who are you really? What is your function here? What part of the we, the unity, are you? Who are you with? And so we want to entertain ourselves with the ideas of unity. And you know, there's some real low down, dirty, no good, backstabbing, belly crawling, worthless pieces of you know what out there who sacrifice themselves in our lives to help us go deeper because they show up like those people. They show up like those adjectives. They show up like the other. They show up like the enemy, and they cause us to go to a deeper place of loving, a deeper place of intimacy, a closer walk with God, because I'm going to need more God to handle this you know what here. Okay? This is deeper than me. I don't have enough love for this. Lord Jesus, I don't have enough love for this. Help me. You got to do something with this. Oh, you mean you're going to let go of the wheel and just let me run your life for a change? You're going to let Spirit direct you for a change? Are you willing to be a servant for a change? I say all that. I just want this to go away. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And it won't go away, people. It's not going away. I can promise you that it's not going away. It never goes away. Tell your neighbor, and I know you know it. I know you. Tell your neighbor, it never goes away. But what happens is the person who's judging it does. The person who's judging it goes away. Because when you come with the unconditional love of the divine and you recognize the power and the presence of God and all you think and all you say and all you do. Now, I realize that's our intention. This is getting up every day. I go to bed. This is my intention. But see, it's like Howard Thurman said, if it had been something big, see, we're ready for the big thing. You know, if something big is challenging our consciousness, let me go deep and establish myself in the one, because we can see this is a challenge. But Howard Thurman talks about it was a daily grind. The grit and the grime of life slowly wore him down so that he lost sight. That's in the passage, keep fresh before me my moments of high resolve. And he lost sight of his high resolve over the grit and the grime of everyday living. Well, the grit and the grime in everyday living is here. And all we can do is do our best with it. And I'm reminded of the oyster. Pardon me, when the grit and the grime of life gets into that oyster's shell, it gives of itself in such a fashion, it slathers that irritation with so much of its own affection and love that eventually it produces a pearl. And there's a lot of pearls walking around our lives that just haven't been given enough love yet. And we say, well, I don't have enough love for all that. No, you don't. The good news is you know it, and I know it. But there's one love that defines us all, from which there's no escape. And I can either ignore that or I can use it. And when I ignore it, things get worse. And when I use it, things get better. And so everybody's in my life to serve me. Everybody's in my life to serve me. What did I say? Everybody. I mean, the thing I love about this philosophy, one of the things I love about the philosophy the most, I don't like to tell on myself, but I just need you to know who I am, who's standing up here channeling this stuff, okay? There's an arrogance that I'm allowed. Do you see? It's arrogant to say everybody is here to serve you. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm the guy that everybody comes here to serve. That's who I am. But I'm not the only one. I'm here to be of service. That's how I know this. Because I'm here to be of service. Because we all serve the same master consciousness. That's what we're all doing. And because we're all bowing to the same consciousness, because we're all surrendering to the same consciousness, I look around, you ever been in an ashram or a room of meditation and prayer, and everybody's doing the same thing? It could be like, they're bowing because I'm bowing. See, you can always play, you should get yourself a little ego shot. Look at, see, watch me. Yep, see everybody doing it. They're doing it because of me. Well, your consciousness is contributing to them doing it. So that's true. Just don't ever think you're the only one. So you get to think as high of yourself as you want to, as long as you're willing to elevate everybody else up there with you. And I really think highly of myself. And I want everybody to think at least as high as themselves as I think of myself. Because I know I can go higher. So I don't want you dragging me down with the conversations and tales of woe. I want to get elevated from here even higher, but I have to include the deep with the shallow and the shallow with the deep. We're all in this together. There's no separation, people. So the great challenge and the great opportunity is to see the people we can't stand the most and go into prayer about it. Because that idea in mind that there's something about them that's not divine, it's what's keeping me from my 100% divinity. Because there's a shard of doubt that the divinity is the only thing that exists, and that person is representing it. It's real easy to tell that God can't be all there is. Just look at that guy right there. He's living proof. There's no way God would have anything to do with that. But I always say, when Jesus was born, Judas was born. And their destinies were conceived in the same consciousness for the same result. And one depends on the other to have their story told. People, everything you've overcome, everything that stood against you is adding to your legacy of empowerment. What have I overcome so far? Look at all the stuff I've been through. And God was there and carried me through. And because God was there and carried me through these things, I know God's going to be here for these other things. It's like, because it happened in something small, I have faith and trust it's going to happen in something big. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so we get to practice on things that can't hurt us anyway. The attitude that we're holding about people, places, and things is what's hurting us. Practicing being loving and forgiving about it is not going to hurt us. It's only going to grow us. It's only going to contribute more love to the whole. It's only going to improve society because it's an inside-out proposition as well as an outside-in proposition. And if the only thing we're doing is cleaning the windows and scrubbing the inside of the building and moving the furniture around, what's the song? This house is not a home because there's no love in it. Thank you. Think of consciousness. This is the day. I hear it in my mind. I guess I'm getting done here with, how close am I? Very close? Good. Because this is probably going to end it. Okay, I got a little. See, usually I can tell because, okay, thank you. I usually show because John will move around to the piano or something, and that kind of snaps me out of my trance. But John's not here. See, he may not even know that. What's that? Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're talking about you, John, behind your back. You can't do anything about it. Show you right. That's very good, Piranjali. That's very good. Can you really say that you made that up? That's what I thought. I believe everything she says. So there's an old song from my background, and it goes like this. If you know it, please join me. I don't know what's going to happen after this song, but this is what I'm feeling right now. I see you, Daniel. You're like, yeah, now here we go. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. Oh, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. All right, y'all. We brought that. So you feeling that? See, this is what you bring to that equation. You look at that individual, look at the circumstances, you look at the news, okay? You look at the war in Ukraine, you look at the Supreme Court decisions, you look at the politics within the country, you look at the mass shootings, you look at all of these things, and yes, they're affecting you, but don't forget, this is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord, and there's a rejoicing. I will rejoice and be glad in the fact that I'm here to witness this day and to apply the consciousness of unity to this circumstance, because what you're witnessing is a breach or a wound in the consciousness of humanity, and knowing that the divine presence is active is the balm for the wound. If you want to make a difference in your consciousness first. Or you're not really making a difference. You're just moving the deck chairs on the Titanic. The people who are going to go down might be more comfortable, but they're sinking anyway. That would be you, the person that's going down anyway. Because you are determined, I am determined to keep an attitude about certain people, places, things, and events and circumstances. And those things become bigger than me because I feel powerless to fix them. If I'm powerless to fix them, that means they're bigger than me. If they're bigger than me and I'm powerless to fix them, that means I'm not safe. And if I'm not safe, then I got to kill the yellow jacket. I got to kill him. Got to kill everything. Now, you have no idea how hard God is slapping me right now. Okay, this is coming through, but I kind of do this. I've been really proud of myself lately. I've been figuring out how to let flies out the house without killing them. But it was like, if you fly in here, it was like, oh, obviously you've been condemned to die. You just flew into the death house. That was my attitude. If it's a mosquito, if you're gonna suck my blood, you have to go. Okay, I'm not graduated to mosquitoes yet, but flies, I'm moving, I'm sure now, it's like, man, I'm really doing good. I'm proud of myself. Because it takes a certain sacrifice, not a sacrifice, a surrendering of the idea that I have to kill to survive. Now I've grown to a place where I realize I'm not going to kill anybody. I don't believe I will. But then again, if it's me or them or my children, that may get amended on the spot. But in history, in my mind, I don't think I can do it. But I don't want to find out. What I want to do is stay loving to the point where it is so deep within me. No, let me take that back. Because I've stood in, people, this is what's going to happen to you. Let me tell you what's going to happen. It's happening already. You're going to find yourself in situations where you don't feel safe. That's just what happens in the realm of duality. And we walk through this realm every day. Yes? And so you have the opportunity, except maybe you, Gene. That might not happen to you. You're pretty good. I'm talking about everybody. Yeah, it used to happen. As soon as I'm looking, I say, it's probably not happening with Gene. I know her. It's probably not happening with Gene. But for the rest of us, how you solve this. It's like what I say, what I do. You bless them twice. You pray for them twice. And include yourself in both of those prayers. Because there's no they. What you're looking at is a personification of the stuff you don't like about yourself. If it could be otherwise, I would be talking about something else, because I don't like to admit these things, because it means it makes me responsible. It puts me on Front Street. It means I'm responsible for my emotional state, which in my mind equals that the low down, dirty, no goods get away. And they do, because I have to stop calling them that, you see? Yeah. I never get to have any fun. But what can be more fun than freeing myself from the yoke of tyranny, of duality and limitation and fear and dread and rage and pain? What could be freer and more better than that? Nothing. But see, it takes courage to have that life. It takes the kind of courage that says, you can't hurt me. And the reason you can't hurt me is because I know there's no such thing as you. And if I'm feeling hurt, it's because there's a part of myself that's not been reconciled with the one. And I'm willing to reconcile that before I condemn you to my judgment. Now, people, I'm not saying people don't mess with you, okay? I'm not saying life is fair. I'm actually saying people do mess with you, and life isn't fair. And this is what you do about it. Because anything less than this keeps us in the soup. And if we want to keep getting tenderized, you know, some things have to cook longer on that slow heat. You know what I mean? I was one of those. I was one of those. I'm learning to just get tender faster. Okay, I don't have to be on the backside of the mountain anymore. I already figured that part out. I was like, you know, being on the backside of the mountain was my own ego saying I had to do it my way. No, I don't. I don't even want to. I don't have a way. As soon as I find myself thinking about having a way, if I find myself with an opinion, I shut up immediately, because I realize I'm on the backside of the mountain again. I want to be in the elevator now. I don't need to go through all these changes. I've seen enough. How high? You know, the mountain has no peak. There's no summit. You just get to keep climbing it. That's the way consciousness work is. There's no summit to consciousness work. It's always evolving. So I figure I might as well just get in the elevator now. You guys want to stay back here? It's okay. I'm going to learn from everybody else's mistakes. Now I've done it enough. I got it. So what we're growing here at the center is a place where we're learning to heal ourselves and thereby healing the world. And you're all a part of this experience. You're all part of the revolution. You're all in the vanguard. We're all freedom fighters. And the freedom we're fighting for is not something outside of ourselves, because we know there's nothing outside of ourselves. Marley said, we want to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. And that's what we're growing here today. That's what this is about. So thank you for being present for this. And thank you for being, you know, it's like we all have our oars in the water right now. And I'm grateful that there's a place called the San Francisco Center for Spiritual Living. I'm grateful for places like this all over the place. Now, I got a call from someone who I had befriended and mentored and helped, who had left in a, let's say, unceremonious fashion. And they called me back to let me know that they're going to come and start a work in San Francisco. And all the stuff from the past came flooding in. I started out good. Let me see. First, I was, oh yeah, I understand all this. I can talk the talk, you see? And the talk comes effortless. But after I hung up the phone and started thinking, I said, what? Now I'm doing the damage collecting. I'm thinking of all the places where I was hurt, all the places, all the blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, and the yeah buts started getting to me. You know about the yeah buts? Yeah. And the yeah buts was winning. I had to remember, you know what? Anything that is promoting the consciousness of oneness cannot be a bad thing, Muata. It cannot be a bad thing. So whatever feelings you have about this, you can either hold on to them and make them even more real, or you can just move on. Excuse me, that's an experience that I'm letting go of. Because everything here is doing what? Thank you. You guys. There you go. Thank you. Let me hear some more. Everything is serving me. And so I look at him in here, was like, I look out and I'm like, wow, I see you, God. I see you, God. Sometimes God is ugly because we don't like certain things. Sometimes God tastes bad because we don't like certain flavors, but the flavor is not bad. The look's not bad. It's my judgment. I see you, God. Cleverly disguised as a low down, dirty, no good. But I see you anyway, and I salute you, and I thank you, and I'm grateful for your presence. This is how we move on. This is how we move up in consciousness. This is how we help save this planet that does not need saving. It needs what Howard Thurman said, people who have come alive. And that's what we're doing here. Thank you. God bless. And that's come alive in the wholeness of the oneness of God. You know, this is the day. We're gonna have to bring that back. You know, that's pretty good. We all know that one. So we're moving into our time of sharing. And here we go. We have a prosperity affirmation that we do every week. Please know that your tithes and offerings and gifts help to promote the idea of oneness around the globe. We're part of a global consciousness, a global movement, and we have centers around the world. We affiliated with other groups that do the same thing. And so this is another way to make a difference on the planet. You give your time, your talent, as well as your treasure, because it's all valuable and it's all about consciousness. And so our online giving link is give@sfcsl.org. That's give@sfcsl.org. And that's PayPal? No, that's PayPal. I think it's PayPal and Zelle. PayPal and Zelle. So please repeat after me. This is our prosperity affirmation. From a consciousness of abundance and centered in gratitude, I generously give. I accept the gifts of prosperity and abundance as I demonstrate divine circulation in my life. Here it is. Open body position, people. Please, let me say please, not people. People, please. Please, people. In gratitude, I freely give. In joyful acceptance, I freely receive. Thank you. Thank you. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. In gratitude, I accept this offering, recognizing it's given from the heart, from the depths of who and what we are. We share the very best of ourselves. In time, talent, and treasure, in spirit, mind, and body, we show up and we show out in spirit. I'm grateful for this and so much more. And so it is, and amen. All right. I gotta say, this is the most fun part of the service to me, because prayer is its own reward. Prayer is its own reward. Because in prayer, everybody's a channel. You know, I get to come here and channel. You guys are watching me channel, but I know you're channeling while I'm channeling. Maybe you don't know that. But as I go into the place where I'm doing this, it opens a portal in everybody who's with it, who's here, and we're all streaming at the same time. I'm just the reed in the mouthpiece. That's all I am. And I enjoyed being the reading the mouthpiece. And this is another time like that because we're all in the prayer. We're all doing the dance at the same time. There's only one of us here. It's consciousness, and consciousness is evolving through each of us. And the way we pray is we're not asking for things to change. Dr. Holmes lets us know that there's nothing to heal, only the truth to be revealed. And so the truth is there's an underlying whole. There's a seamless integration. There's a oneness, an inseparable oneness of being that's always present. That's always present. And in that oneness, there's a wholeness where everything is whole, perfect, and complete. And it's always present. And it's a question of what am I expecting to happen versus what do I say I want to happen? And so we pray in such a fashion that we work on our expectation. And we work on our expectation by recognizing there's only one thing to expect to happen. That's God. Because God's all there is. Are you with me so far? And if God's the only thing that there is, then God's the only thing I can be. So there's an immediate unity. Are you with me so far? So my expectation is one of unity, one of wholeness, one of the divine. Whatever I'm praying about, that's my expectation because of my affiliation, my relationship, if you will, with the divine, right? Yes. And we're entering in that space right now. I can see some of you already feeling that. Some of us are already feeling that. So now we're speaking into form the healing that we desire by mentioning the names of the people that could use a clarity of thought, mind, and vision. And that would be our own clarity of thought, mind, and vision about them. So who are we confused about? Let's put them on the prayer altar, the altar of the heart, as Pranjali likes to say. I'm gonna put myself, because sometimes I'm confused about me. Muata Rasuli is on that altar. I have some, and Pranjali is on the altar, Betty Burr is on the altar, and Art Cooper's on the altar, and Matthew Green is on the altar, and Amarok is on the altar. And say something, I'm not the only one, say something. Keep going, call them into being, call it into, and absolutely, each and every one, all of our children and grandchildren and people we don't, number 45 and number 44 and number 46 and all the presidents, man, every circumstance, every situation, all beings everywhere, all the shooters and all the victims. I'm calling them into prayer right now because I can. Because I can. And it's in that spirit that I'm speaking. Recognizing one life, one mind, one power, one presence, one life, one mind, one power, one presence, one life, one mind, one power, one presence, one eternal giving nature that lives and breathes and has its being in and through and as all of creation. It lives and breathes and has its being in and through and as each and every one of us and all beings and all circumstances and all situations and all memories and all reflections and all anticipations. The divine incarnate is involved and enthused in and through and as all beingness. There's a oneness that's pervasive throughout all beingness. And I am an aspect. I am one with the one. Each of us is one with the one. Each of us is anchored in the spirit of harmony and peace and wholeness and aliveness and prosperity. It's true and happening right now. And it's because I have this level of clarity that I see what I say and I say what I see, that I'm speaking my word, knowing that right here and right now, all of our needs are met, all of our expectations are exceeded, and all of our joys fulfilled as we walk and talk and live and breathe and have our beings as those who know that we are one. And we set the captives free in our minds right now. We shake the cell doors of consciousness loose right now. Ali, out and free right now. It's over. I let it all go. I release and I let it go. I let spirit run my life. My arms are open wide. I'm only here for the divine. I'm only here for the divine expression. What's true about me is true about each and every one of us, regardless of station, regardless of person, whether we're present or online, wherever and whatever. This idea, this persistence, this reality continues. And so our hearts right now are overwhelmed with the gratitude of being, the gratitude of knowing there's something called God, there's something called consciousness, there's something called oneness, and this identity, this awareness is so sublime, so sweet, so magnificent, so powerful that everything else falls away. Everything else falls away. Everything else falls away. It cannot stand before the magnificence and the brilliance and the luminosity of the light of my own being. Each of us has this resplendent luminosity. Each of us is radiating this frequency that's inclusive, knowing that the depths of our darkness is equaled by the brilliance of our luminosity, and we are held in balance by this very idea, and we can see the seeming opposites as one. And as we see, because we see, as we see, we are whole. It's happening right now. The wholeness is happening right now. There's no separation in the finances because we know we draw good from that infinite, inexhaustible source of consciousness, and it continues to supply us even as the air we breathe. And so we let go and we let God, knowing that we have all that we need because we ourselves are enough. And it's this consciousness that propels us into the more. And we're no longer reacting in fear. We're affirming in truth and power and beauty and wholeness and aliveness. And what we speak for ourselves, we're speaking for all beings everywhere. Ali outs and free. Every relationship is based on that unconditional loving relationship. The one that we have with the divine, the one that we have with God, and we surrender to greater and greater depths to the divinity within. And as we surrender deeper, we rise higher. As we enter into the darkness of fear and doubt and embrace it, our luminosity grows brighter and brighter. We are transformed by the renewing of our mind right here and right now. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over. Yes, it's over. Gratefully, I accept this reality. Gratefully, I accept it as so. I allow it to circulate in and through and as every aspect of my being, percolating from the very depths to the absolute heights. And I release and I let go. And so it is. And amen. Whew. Yeah, well, you know we're singing right now, right? This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. Oh, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Yes, 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 yes. And we empower ourselves with this realization. Yes, we are walking, talking, living, breathing representations of the day the Lord has made. It shows up in us as a personification of itself. Hot dang. You got every reason to be proud of yourself and feel good about yourself. Strut, baby, strut. Because you're worth it. It cannot be otherwise. We have a few announcements. Foundational class is closed. We'll start another class. There are a couple people that are very insistent. And if you two talk, you people, like you and you need to talk. You can too. Talk to see Jennifer and Nicole, Eric, and Patrick. Man, somehow I got the wrong name in my head. Same thing I did with you. Patrick. Because we could probably work something out, because I'm here for service. I'm just here for service. So if we create another one. I hear you. I hear you. She said we don't wait till September. So I'm not going to be the one to stall the train. That's God putting the spurs. Giddy up, Muata, giddy up. Yes, Parents.